Happy New Year and welcome to Creature Club. This is a weekly podcast all about the monsters of Dungeons and Dragons. Every week we take a monster from the 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons Monster Manual, which we're reading through alphabetically, and we talk about how we might use the monster. We talk a little bit about the history of the monster, and then we talk about interesting ways to use it rather than sort of straightforward ways, and how you might make it exciting or make it into the villain of your story. I'm Daniel. I'm talking very fast, and I'm joined by my clever and handsome friends, Tim.
Hello.
And DC.
Yo.
It was actually called Mikey. Sorry.
That's
Mikey.
okay. Mikey
very
DC.
confusing for people. Yeah.
Yeah, like I've been called DC, I've been called Mikey on this show, and I hope our listeners know it's one person. Like,
I don't know.
It's
interchangeable.
But...
Yeah, so like my name is Mikey and DC. Anyway, new year, new creatures. Woo!
Hooray!
Let's do it, guys. Let's hope 2018 is a little bit less of a train wreck than 2017 and 16 together.
Yeah.
Agreed.
It's been sort of a rough second half of a decade, as far as I can tell.
Kind of has, yeah.
2015 onward.
It's been pretty fun for Creature Club, though. We've been doing pretty well.
It has, yeah. We've done well.
We got a nice little start, and shout out to everybody who's listening every week. Like we know you're there, and we very much appreciate it. So hello.
Hello.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And thank you for everyone who sends kind words. They're
totally.
super nice, and they make us feel great.
Yeah, really do.
I think I already told you guys the story. I don't know if I told it on the podcast, but I woke up one Saturday and I looked at my phone, and the first thing I saw was a message on Reddit of someone saying like, "Oh, I bookmarked your podcast like 2 weeks ago, and I just binged all of it. It's really good." And I was like, I just feel great. Like first thing in the morning, and I just like got this lovely compliment, and it's like, cool, awesome, like, you know.
Yeah, when you told me that, I was like, yes, that's great.
What we're doing now is pretty solid, but like having people actually like it like feels like it's just so much more than us having fun. Like I feel like we'd be doing it even if it wasn't hugely successful.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we could still do that. Like we could do this just for us, but it is great to know that people enjoy it.
Yeah,
and it's great to know, like, especially it's great to know that, like, you know, it's great to know we help DMs. It's also great to know that, like, if you're not currently running a game, or you're maybe just interested in Dungeons and Dragons, that you're listening and you still find us entertaining.
Yeah, like great. I get a message like every week from my brother who listens, who's listening. Shout out to Matthew. How's it going? But he's just like, he always messaged me saying, love this episode, love this part, that's a funny part, that kind of stuff. And he doesn't play D&D at all. He's always been interested, but he's played like one game with me one time, but like he's still listening every week. Maybe because his brother's on the show, but like, yeah,
but still it's really nice. So that's the Happy New Year. we sort of got distracted,
and a good old thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for listening. This episode is about the Behir.
Woo.
Yes,
Behir. We'll go with Behir. We'll probably call him Behir for.
Yeah, I think we will.
I think Behir is a little bit better.
Timothy, what does he look like for our people who don't have a monster manual on him?
Our big friend the Behir is a huge, big old snake-like fella. He's not exactly been described in enormous detail in the old history, but how he's presented before us is this big old bluish, slimy-looking, more fleshy than scaly serpentine creature with a whole bunch of legs and lightning for a mouth.
Yeah. Very long, very just a huge snake with loads of legs. That's a great description of it. Kind of like a snake dragon with legs, I guess.
If you kind of imagine the kind of Chinese imperial dragons, the long ones, but then gave it lots of legs instead of it just flying around and having, I think, 4 legs normally. Yeah. Like more legs than that, then you'd be pretty close.
It also doesn't have quite as nice a mustache as them.
No, it doesn't. It actually has a very bad mustache.
No mustache.
Has some cute little like goat horns though, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, just barely squeezing into the top of the picture.
Yeah.
Which is...
Shall we jump into the history of this fabled creature?
Yeah, Daniel, you did a little bit of research, didn't you?
I did. I researched the Behir. It's a Scottish creature. In Scottish, it's called a Behir, but it's spelled funny because us Celts are weird when it comes to spelling. We just love our vowels.
Yeah,
we sure do.
If it can be done with one vowel, it can be done with 2 vowels. That's the Celtic way.
We just want to make things awkward for everybody else.
Absolutely.
Yes. So if you're listening at home and you're interested in looking this up, the Behir in Scottish is Beithior rather than Behir, but it's pronounced identically, or as far as my pronunciation of Irish goes, I would read that as Behir.
You got it.
No, I just mean I don't know if the Scottish would pronounce it differently.
Oh, right. Yeah, the Scots Gaelic.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, it's actually almost identical to how it's described in the Monster Manual. It's a big kind of snaky dragon fella, lots of legs. It's kind of sneaky and mean, and it's considered like similar to the basilisk from earlier. It's considered sort of a large and dangerous serpent, maybe the deadliest or kind of king of the serpents. Although there's less emphasis on it being a king and more emphasis on it just being like the worst snake.
Yeah, I had also heard that it was grouped in with a group of creatures called the Fuath or Fua in Irish, which is just a word that just means hate in Irish. So they're hateful creatures, it seems, which is just one little fact that I had seen.
That's cool.
You think they came from the same myth, Behirs and basilisks? You think they might have maybe? I don't know.
Well, I think we talked a little bit about how we thought the basilisk might have come from the spitting cobras.
Yeah.
And so so the Behir also comes from a snake, but it comes from a grass snake from Scotland rather than a spitting cobra, which are only in Africa. But they're both snake based. The word Behir is kind of means serpent, but sometimes also means lightning or thunderbolt. It's interesting because obviously like that feels very much like the reason that it has sort of lightning based powers in Dungeons and Dragons, but in folklore it isn't described as having any sort of supernatural lightning abilities. It's actually just a bad snake. It's got a very bad sting. There's a nice thing here that I'm going to talk about because I love stuff like this. If you're stung by a Behir, the cure as such is to rush to the nearest body of water, and if you reach it before the Behir, you're cured, and if you don't, you're doomed.
Oh,
I think stuff like that is so much fun.
that's
like
so folklore-y.
Exactly, and I think that might be a fun thing to give to another creature for your D&D game. That could be a lot of fun, like sort of a malicious creature that infects you with something and then you have to race it to a river.
Yeah, or like something that will challenge your characters. Like it's very full of itself, and it's like, ooh, I can race you to that water. I'll prick you with my tail. Oh, if you don't win, you die.
Yeah, which is cool. So there's a little bit on kind of different stories it's been in. There's not a lot in terms of stuff you could use. The stuff you could use for D&D. There is a cool one here about a hunter who fought a Behir and cut it to pieces, and then it basically reassembled itself, which is kind of cool because it's got all those legs. That could be kind of a fun thing.
Yeah, that's another thing that I had looked up in the brief little bit of research that I did, that a Behir is formed when you cut off the head of a snake and you don't bury the head far enough away from the body that it like reconnects, and then it is imbued with these supernatural powers. So for it to be able to reconstitute itself is relatively in keeping with some lore. I think there are definitely inconsistencies, but
it's a lot of like small stories. So the only thing I'll mention finally is that it was kind of suggested that you saw the Behir on like nights where there were lightning strikes, which might be where the kind of lightning name comes from. And they were kind of associated a little bit with kind of like lightning and storms and how dangerous that was, and like also kind of based on the European eel. So there might be suggestions that it's kind of like a sailor story that combined with a more of a like land story and then sort of mixed into this thing. There's not a lot of detail, but it is interesting anyway. And that is its history in the real world. Do we want to talk very briefly about its fake history?
About
fake history?
It's a D&D history. I mean, like,
yeah, it's D&D history.
Sorry, this is a weird way of putting it. Yeah,
no, I know.
So
sorry.
He showed up first in a D&D. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Yeah, that's all now. Yeah, you had something there?
Yeah, sorry. He showed up in an adventure called The Lost Caverns of Chizjikan. It's probably actually Sojkanth.
Yeah, Sojkanth. The Lost Caverns of Sojkanth.
Which is, and so interestingly enough, this is the first appearance of the Behir, and the Behir in this adventure is named. They are called Lud, with 2 L's
cool.
and 2 D's. I guess it's a long name because they're long creatures, which is kind of cool. The Behir in question is described as being like relatively intelligent. It says it has learned languages from creatures before it devoured them, which is a nice monstrous touch. So it's able to like converse with the party if it needs to, and it'll like plead for its own life if it needs to. And it knows the location of the rest of the treasure in the cave, which it like might tell you to stop you from killing it.
Yeah.
And finally, it mentions how if you kill the Behir and cut open its stomach, there's a like an amulet inside that'll protect you from poison, which is useful against the Behir because they have poison as well as lightning breath.
Okay.
And yeah, so that's that's the only thing. It's first described in there, and then after being in there, it appeared in the second edition. Sorry, the second monster manual of AD&D after appearing in this book. But the sort of rules for it didn't change really. They were just it was just rewritten down so that if you didn't have the adventure, you could still use it.
Yeah, he seems like just kind of the same guy. Although I think I'm looking at the Tui thing here, and it says he's gargantuan, and everything else is that he's huge.
Yeah.
So he's a little bit bigger than what we're used to. That's the only difference I can see there.
And then he was in basically just every single one since then, right? In
Yeah,
some forms.
he's been in every edition. He's actually he's kept his identity. The thing that's interesting, like he's always been very like the Behir has always been snaky legged dragon thingy. The thing that's interesting to me is how it's sort of the version in the Lost Caverns of Sojkanth is supposed to be an exception to the species, if that makes sense.
Okay.
It's supposed to be unusual that it can speak and reason with the party, but it seems like over time that's kind of become the norm.
Yeah.
Like this guy here we have in 5th edition he only has 7 intelligence, so he's about as smart as the barbarian, but he can talk.
Yeah, and also the only language he has is Draconic, but sure, everyone speaks Draconic in your D&D campaign, I'd say. Like,
Chances
yeah, it's
are
very hard
someone
not
is.
to.
yeah, but like everyone else, all these other Behirs are like they speak Common as well, so they may be a little bit stupider in 5e. Or not stupider, but different language. Sorry, don't put me on record saying that. People who don't speak our language are stupid. No.
I wonder, have they always been considered the foes of dragons, as it says in the monster manual here? Like, have they always been established as like a counter to dragons in the world?
The AD&D one doesn't mention it.
Yeah.
Doesn't actually describe at all doesn't describe any relationship with dragons. It just describes how the beast works.
Right.
It
was probably introduced in later editions, but it's prominent enough that like it is written here for his little history entry on the page.
Yeah, I don't know when it first appeared, but what my kind of theory might be is that in 4th edition, actually, DC, you want to talk about them in 4th edition a bit because you're kind of more familiar with that.
Like in terms of like the history of 4th edition or what it has written down here.
Oh, I just sort of like how they work in 4th edition and what it says for them.
Yeah, well, I was going to actually wait just a little bit longer because it's kind of it's kind of encounter stuff. So I'm going to be a good boy and wait later for this time.
Okay, well, without spoiling too much, the only thing I was going to mention for the 4th edition one is that it mentions that that some Behir act as mounts for storm giants.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And in 4th edition, one of the central conflicts was between the giants and the dragons. In fact, it's in 5th edition as well. The dragons and the giants had like a really old war.
Cool.
So there might be the idea that like the Behir were turned against the dragons by the storm giants as part of their...
Something real quick, because you just mentioned it's in the same paragraph or one of the same paragraphs, but the storm steeds one can ride on the lightning they generate, which in what says in 4e, and that is super cool to me. Like, it's just a very great image to see, because I don't think they can fly. Can they fly in regular old editions?
No.
Yeah,
they can climb, but they can't fly.
Yeah, there's no fly speed here. Yeah, that's fine.
Because they don't have wings.
Yeah, no, but they can if they're riding the lightning. To quote Metallica, it's a good album. So, shall we go into what has written down here? A little bit of description stuff for 5e for people.
Sure.
Yeah. Let's jump into the current Behir as he stands now, as they stand now.
Yeah. Shall we just read it here as it is? So the 5e Behir, the serpentine Behir crawls along floors and clambers up walls to reach its prey. Its lightning breath can incinerate most creatures, even as more powerful foes are constricted in its coils and eaten alive. The Behir's monstrous form reassembles a combination of centipede and crocodile. Its scaled hide ranges from ultramarine to deep blue in color, fading to pale blue on its underside. So I guess the only difference there is that it's kind of, which it says in the next paragraph, is it's kind of a cavern predator.
Yeah,
it's kind of they're
caves.
found in caves and stuff to fight.
Oh well, I think they've always been cave dwellers.
Cave boys.
Oh yeah, was that in the? Sorry, it's called the Lost Caverns of Sojkan. So sorry about that.
No, it's very fair. He
Makes
could
a
have
lot
been
of
an
sense.
exception. The Lud could have been an exceptional Behir in his environment,
Yeah.
but I think they are. I think they're supposed to be cave boys, and that's why they don't fly. They climb because it kind of suits caves better.
Yeah.
So that's why they're not really at a disadvantage.
Yeah. They're cavern predators, and they're, as Tim mentioned, they have here that they're foes of dragons. So they're just
Yeah, it actually mentions in this passage how the storm giants actually made the Behir as a weapon against dragons, which is what I think was suggested maybe in earlier editions, or at least in 4th edition, because of the sort of suggestion that they were allied with storm giants. It might be kind of taken from that.
And that's really it. Yeah, that's kind of everything new. We kind of mentioned everything else on that. Just kind of to be quick about that part. So yeah, just remember cavern predators and foes of dragons. Just remember those bold parts there.
And Daniel, if since you found old Lud, do you want to read his little quote that's on the page there?
Oh, is that Lud's quote? Cool.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it is.
Wow.
That's so cool. I never realized. Yeah, Lud the Behir confronting adventurers in the lost caverns of Sojkan.
Ah, cool.
That's really cool.
Well, do you want to read out, Dan?
I've already eaten 3 giant bats, 6 troglodytes, and a mind flayer today, but that's okay. Plenty of room in my belly for you and your friends.
That's cool.
It's a very playful kind of idea, so I can imagine the Caverns of Sojkanth is kind of possibly aimed towards the old youngsters.
Oh yeah.
Yes, it was part of a sort of special series of adventures, so I get the impression that it was sort of playing a lot with new ideas, which is why it's actually, like, just glancing over it seems to have a lot of like different experimental monsters in it, a lot of whom ended up staying in D&D, which is pretty cool, but Behir being one of them.
Yeah.
Another one is the Bodak. I think it might be from Sojkanth, which is pretty cool. Bodaks are like Underdark people, basically. They're like the Underdark got in them, and now they're bad.
Oh no.
Yeah, I know.
Boys.
It's pretty oh no.
Are you guys ready for some dinner?
Oh
Yeah.
I think so.
All right.
I hear dinner bells ringing.
It's dinner town. Meat and potatoes. I will never actually
Still.
figure out what we're actually going to call it. You know.
Dinner time.
That's fine.
Yeah. Play that music.
All right. Behir. Starts off fairly simple. It's a big boy.
Huge
and it's
monstrosity.
Indeed.
Which actually I kind of wanted to bring up, but I might as well bring it up here. So for people at home, medium is kind of the size of you as an adventurer. And if you're putting it on like a hexonic or a graph paper, like square map kind of thing, square paper, if you can think like graph paper, it's just different squares. So one square is you as a person. Huge is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4? No, 3. No, 3
Yeah,
by 3.
huge is 3, I think.
3, yeah, 3 by 3. So that's that. That's how big he is compared to you. But what I want to bring up is because he's such a like slippery guy. Do you think having that would like really suit it, or would it like because you can't really have that encounter where he's like going around you guys and trying to like maneuver around you and constrict you. On you can do that, of course, without the map, like what you guys is talking, but you can't. It's kind of hard to do on a map, you know.
Well, what I might suggest is if you make the assumption that this is going to get sort of into geometry, which might be boring, and I apologize.
Yeah, it might be. We'll be quick about it, but
yeah, we will. So if you imagine that, like, if it's 3 squares across, it might also be 3 squares tall, which is a total of 9 squares, right?
yeah.
Yep.
So you could always say, like, okay, instead of doing 9 squares 3 by 3, I'm going to do like 9 squares, but like long boy.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So like,
thinking of doing,
so like,
yeah.
sort of like 2x4 long, 5 feet up, and maybe like a little tail or whatever, or like the head is at the front or whatever.
It would be tricky.
Or
to
just
work
make it
out.
like 8x2 and sorry 4x
And you can do it like
Yeah.
you're playing a game of Snake on the on the
yeah,
paper.
exactly. And you you have it like separated into 2x1 chunks, so you can move it about the board as it
you
moves
could
around
like
the players.
use dominoes or something to represent it.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
absolutely.
actually a really cool idea. Dominoes, something like that. So that's our first meat and potatoes advice is maybe do that. Maybe give it a go. Like if I was doing a Behir,
It's a cool idea, though.
I would like to do that because, as I said, I'm a huge fan of Monster Hunter. I was playing Monster Hunter 4 recently, and I was fighting the snake guy.
So was I.
Yeah. Oh, cool. I was fighting the snake one. I forgot his name.
Oh, the one in the ice area, right? Am I thinking the same
No,
one?
I think of kind of a jungly guy in the jungle one.
Oh, is he like one of the earlier ones that we fought together once or twice?
I think so. Yeah, one of them.
I think if I recall correctly, when we fought it like surrounded me like 4 times.
Yeah.
Oh,
and I was
man.
very bad.
I remember it.
Yeah, our friend Connor, listening now, is yelling at the screen saying what it is because he likes Monster Hunter. I think he is, hopefully. But no, I mean I hope he is yelling it as well. Or I hope he's like, what is it again? Like, but yeah, so. But it's pretty much a big monster. It kind of looks like a big snake, and he would do that, like, constrict around you and kind of like
he
fly
would, yeah.
around the place. So I would love to do something like that in D&D, but that's the first sentence on this block, so I'll leave it at that.
No, I mean it's a cool idea, especially the idea that like it doesn't necessarily constrict like the mechanic here, which is cool in one way to do it, but it can also like it can literally use its shape as physical terrain. Like it moves, and the party are now blocked off, and they either have to like move through its spaces or figure out a way around it or something.
Yeah.
Like they have to like leap over it or something, which is a really interesting like unique aspect of this kind of long boy.
Yeah.
Rather than like kind of a broad boy instead.
A big old block boy.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
But cool. I like that.
Yeah. So armor class 17, natural armor.
Yeah,
That's kind of the same thing we mentioned in the Laps episode, where his scales would be pretty hard. So maybe if you kill it, you might be able to make some armor out of that. But listen to the last episode for more stuff on that.
Yeah. The only thing I'll mention about well, maybe we could save let's save armor making and stuff like that for the encounter actually, because there's some cool stuff we could talk about, but let's
A whole chunk of hit points.
so meaty boy, faster than an adventurer, both on the ground and climbing.
Yeah.
So difficult to outrun, which is sort of an important distinction.
Yeah, and the climb speed's a cool thing because, of course, it's a cavern guy, so you can have him going up on the walls, like just you can add that aspect to the fight.
It'd be especially cool if you could somehow, combine this idea of using a longer, representing him as being kind of long, and then using that with the cavern so that he's kind of halfway up or down a wall as he's fighting you.
Yeah.
So you kind of like, it would be very easy for them to like flee in an instant if they need to.
Yeah.
Very stronger, 23 strength, which means they are stronger than
Very
any party member can normally be.
Yeah.
And they have 2 skill proficiencies, which is a little bit unusual. They have proficiency in perception and stealth, which are both good ways of representing a little bit how the Behir might fight. That they're kind of like ambush
Sneaky
predators,
boys.
They sneak, and then, but they've got the ability to find other things that are sneaking, which means that they're difficult to sneak up on.
We have our first damage immunity of the series, guys.
Is it really?
Yeah. Damage
Yeah, I think
immunity
he's
to
right.
lightning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't pop up. We made a big deal about it last time in like other ones, so I would remember if we did, but yeah, he's immune to lightning
No,
because
that's very reasonable.
To lightning.
he's a lightning boy. So
Yeah.
don't hit him with lightning.
Worth mentioning, just that like if you're going to use the idea that he's long and he's moving around the players, it's cool to think that he can use his lightning breath on himself
Okay.
because he can't be hurt by it,
right.
so he can use it with an impunity on
That's
his
cool.
on his own body, effectively.
Yeah, like he could constrict the people and then just
Yeah,
breathe
and then
electricity on himself.
Oh yeah. Cool.
he has dark vision. He has 90 feet, which is a little bit better than most players. Again, sort of suggesting how he fights, how he might outmaneuver them.
Yeah.
Pretty hefty passive perception. Yeah.
Yeah, very good. And he speaks Draconic. The Behir speaks Draconic,
Yeah.
but only Draconic.
Yeah.
It's interesting that they speak Draconic when they also hate dragons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a little surprised they don't speak Giant.
Yeah, or like Abyssal or something.
Well, yeah, Abyssal maybe, yeah. But like as in if they spoke, or even if like it'd be kind of interesting. It'd be interesting if Undercommon's a really good idea. If the Behir didn't speak giant but understood giant, as in they would know the language of their masters even if they didn't know how to speak it.
Right.
That could be kind of cool. But that's something you can totally add in your world. Totally harmless.
Yeah.
Nice way to include a bit of lore.
They can know common as well, like because every other edition has them speaking common, so you can just add it into this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can steal the line about Lud from the Lost Caverns of Sojkanth and just say, this Behir has eaten a lot of people and knows how to speak common because they kept begging for something and eventually it figured it out.
Yeah.
Which is also a great way of making them incredibly terrible monsters, grim and awful creatures. But anyway, challenge rating 11. So, medium toughness boys.
Would be a good boss for a mid-level party, but not the hardest boss ever.
Like maybe it would be threatening maybe an underground dwarven city or something like that.
Yeah, I think dwarves are a natural fit, or I don't know, like undergnomes, Sivernephlin, I think that's what they're called.
Deep gnome as well, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that sort of thing, or even just like expeditions being threatened by the Behir, or even them coming to the surface to look for food because there's none underground. I think on that subject, the idea that it's this challenge rating 11 monster and it's pretty significant, it's a little surprising that they don't have any legendary or layer actions.
Yeah, I was going to mention
especially because they seem like they might have layer, but maybe we can save that for part 3 and talk about some ideas for that, because that might be cool.
Actions. He has a multi-attack. He can make 2 attacks. One is bite and one is constrict. You can just do 2 attacks.
That's pretty good.
It is,
actually.
yeah.
The constrict is they have to be next to him, but he can grab them as part of the attack. Yeah. And then the bite is just a lot of damage, but it's slightly longer range to represent that it's a long creature.
Yeah. I think I would do it obviously the multi-attack doesn't mean to do it in that order, but I would like to do it where he would constrict him and then he would bite him while constricting.
Then, bite the creature that it's constricting. Yeah, I totally agree.
Because they're supposed to be kind of I think they're supposed to be predators. They know how to kill their prey, so they would.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that'll be a good way of doing it.
And it does a pretty significant amount of both bludgeoning and slashing damage. So,
yeah. So So make sure you know what level to put this against your players.
Oh yes.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, by level 11, parties are reaching the 100 health threshold, so it's fine.
Yeah.
They can
and the and if they have tools for healing themselves, they'll probably be fine.
Yeah.
I actually don't think any of the Behir's damage is too high, with the exception of its third power, its lightning breath, which is very, 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 very. It's interesting actually. I'm a little.
That number here. Did you guys notice the amount of dice you have to roll for his lightning damage?
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
12 10-sided dice.
It's just so many. It's actually kind of. It's actually just impractical.
I don't have 12 d10s.
I have 4, so that would be
you would have
3 times.
That's when you as a DM you would say, "All right, lads, time for lightning breath. Give me all your d10s now."
Yeah,
and then
guys,
roll
I
them from them.
I need all your d10s. Yeah,
I do love doing that, but that's just cheeky.
And then you roll it right in the middle of the table. That's the key.
It's a DC 16 saving throw, so it's a hard check to pass.
Yeah. And it's a line of lightning similar to the Dragonborn powers, and even some dragons have it.
Right.
I think I would almost certainly say, and this is again kind of a personal thing. I think if you're going to give a creature who feels like a solo boss a breath weapon, and so they're expected to fight the party on their own, I think the breath weapon should be a cone.
Yeah.
In fairness, I do think the cool thing about the Behir is that because it's kind of a long boy, it'd be easy for it to move its neck into position and hit multiple party members.
Yeah.
But I do feel like a cone might be a little more practical, for lack of a better word.
Maybe because it's kind of an ambush predator, it would aim to get them into a pretty narrow place and then just shoot them all in a row, kind of thing. I don't think it would take them on in a big old cavern.
Or the idea is it would use its lightning breath to subdue its prey, and then it doesn't matter so much about the rest of the party. So the Behir kind of picks someone in the party who's going to be like its target, and it goes like lightning breath, constrict, bite, and like then if they're down, it moves on to the next member. Kind of thing.
And also I think maybe this kind of attack is where you as a DM roll the dice behind the screen and say, say what did you get? Like after you have to beat or I rolled this amount and maybe fudge it. Don't kill everybody. Just like make sure you play it fun.
Yeah.
I don't think it'd kill everyone. I think you'd be fine.
Yeah.
I
guess
it
so,
does.
yeah.
It does significant enough damage that that's probably a legit concern. But like,
Yeah, but there's a couple of factors. First of all, it's only got a range of 20 feet, so they have to be relatively close. So your spellcasters are fine as long as they're keeping their distance.
Yeah.
Anyone that close to the Behir is either like a fighter or a paladin, and therefore is fine. A ranger or a rogue, and therefore has dexterity. Or I don't know, you're weird or you're a monk and you've got infinite dexterity, and you have that thing where you don't even take damage if you succeed, and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
You're fine. So like, I think it's a significant amount of damage. I think it's supposed to be the thing that makes the Behir scary. I think it's supposed to hit the paladin dead on, and just like, you had 78 health at the start of this fight, now you have very little, and the paladin just touches their face and heals themselves, and it's fine because the paladin's allowed to do that, and everything's fine, but everyone goes, oh my goodness, it's very dangerous, we should be careful.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing you do once, and it might hit down your paladin, he might go unconscious, and everyone's like, oh crap, he's unconscious, get our paladin quick, and you heal him up, and he doesn't do it again, but it was a nice scary moment for your players,
Yeah, exactly, yeah. It was a moment that made the Behir stand out. In fact, I think that's very important. I think that this one attack is very, very dangerous, is a great way to make the Behir stand out in a campaign.
Maybe the recharge is a bit heavy at 5 and 6. Maybe it should be.
I mean,
6.
5 and 6 means you're going to get it once every. Well, you're going to get it once every. Yeah, it's 33%, so once every 3 turns.
Yeah.
So you're going to get it once for free, and then you're going to have to wait 2 turns before you get it again. And what that realistically means is you're going to get it once. Because you're going to use it, and the party's going to go, oh my god, and then they're going to spend all their best abilities killing it before it can do it again.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I mean, like, I've listened to podcasts from Pathfinder designers, and they have said your monster will survive 4 rounds with the party. Do not give your monster more abilities than 4 rounds, because that is exactly how much time they have until someone just goes, I dealt like 78 damage, and you go, what?
I got a crit, and I'm a barbarian, so it's a brutal critical, so I roll.
And I'm
13.
also a paladin, so I got my divine smite. What
Tremendous
character are
smite.
you playing?
I'm gonna hit you with my halberd and then like shoot lightning out my mouth and step away and then do an extra attack.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there's one move left.
Tim, do you want to go with this one?
Sure.
Yes.
The big ol' swallow, where the Behir makes 1 bite attack against a medium or smaller target it is grappling. If the attack hits, the target is also swallowed, and the grapple ends. While swallowed, the target is blinded and restrained. It has a total cover against attacks and other effects outside of the Behir, and it takes 21 or 66 acid damage at the start of each of the Behir's turn. A Behir can have only one creature. It can only swallow 1 bro at a time. And if it takes 30 damage or more from a single attack, the Behir has to succeed on a DC 14 Constitution saving throw at the end of its turn, or regurgitate the creature, which is prone within 10 feet of it, which is kind of cool.
It vomits out the dude, basically, which is amazing.
Yeah.
It's so gross. It's
is.
just like, it's the worst thing that can happen to, like, just imagine, the rogue gets swallowed and the barbarian has to punch the Behir so hard that the Behir vomits the rogue out.
Yeah.
That is unbelievable. Like, that's so funny.
Oh, God.
You know what they say, you can't keep a good man down.
Second time you made that reference on this podcast.
I think it is. God, I'm really
is.
sorry. There's so much eating.
That's very like pulpy fiction to me, of like a giant beast swallowing him whole, and you have to like attack and get yourself out. You can do a thing where you can just kind of try to hack yourself out of it, but like you can attack him from inside. That's what I might do for the crack. But yeah, it's just very like once you get swallowed by a monster, your parents like, what? Like, I'm swallowed now? What the hell? Like,
Yeah.
like, well, yeah, get yourself out, man. Do it. Roll some dice.
But yeah, that's a good old flavoursome passage there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The only thing I would add is I've actually played a game where I was playing a ranger and my pet got swallowed by a monster.
Okay.
Oh.
And what I did was
What was your pet?
my pet was it's not in the monster manual. It's called a dragon.
Okay.
It's dragon, but with an extra N and an E. It's basically a cross between a lion and a dragon.
Cool. That's
So it's like small and long, but it's got wings and kind of like a dragon's mane. Sorry, a lion's
kind
mane.
of like a lion-sized dragon with a mane.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but like kind of like longer and slinkier than a dragon, kind of like more cat-like, if that makes sense.
Cool.
Like less broad. But anyway, so it was swallowed by this creature we were fighting. I think it was a kind of a sea monster, and this is just something that I'd mention as an alternative to the rule where it says if they take 30 damage or more, they have to succeed. The other suggestion I might make is that, and this is what I did in my campaign. I asked my DM, can I make a cold shot, which is a rule I think in every edition of D&D, but it's kind of an optional rule in 5th edition. And a cold shot is when you say, I'd like to attack this part of the body of a creature. So in this case, I said, like, I'd like to attack this creature's belly. You know, I'd like to try and cut open the belly and save my pet.
Yeah.
And so in the game, I was playing Pathfinder at the time, so Pathfinder has its own rules for cold shots. But in 5th edition, the rules are very straightforward. The rules are simply, if you make a cold shot, you have disadvantage on the attack because you're targeting a specific area.
Yeah.
But I might say that, like, if a player with a slashing weapon says, I want to try and cut open the Behir's belly, I would say, yeah, absolutely, just make an attack with disadvantage using the cold shots rules. And, like, I'd say if they hit and deal, I don't know, maybe 15 damage, like half the amount that's listed there, they still have to deal some damage, but not as much.
Yeah.
If they deal that much, then they slice open the belly of the Behir and their friend is set free, and maybe the Behir, like, can't swallow anyone from the rest of the game or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just like as an alternative to, that rule in particular, just in case that seems like. But anyway,
Cool. I like that. Makes sense.
yeah, just I'm only mentioning it because I actually have experience with fighting a creature that eats other creatures.
Cool.
So do we want to get on to our dessert?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. It's encounters.
It's encounters.
Yeah, you just took my my moment there, Tim, didn't you?
I'm sorry.
I was saying it's encounters, and you're like, it's encounters, and I'm like,
Well, you can
know.
cut me out.
there's only room for one guy who says it's encounters on this show.
But
anyway,
it's
thanks, Tim.
I'll leave. Sorry.
No, don't leave. We need you. We need you, man. We can. Me and Dan can't do this by ourselves.
Yeah.
It's true, we both die.
We'll both die, literally. Okay, so anyone have any ideas for this long boy? The only idea at the moment I can think of was what we brought up already. We already talked about at length is making the block on your map just a little bit longer instead of like a block. But we already talked about that. That's the idea. But
Yeah.
you guys have anything else?
But I think more broadly, what we could say is, like, in a fight with a Behir, whether or not you're using a grid map, it's worth remembering that it can use its size for a lot of different tools. So what we're saying, when we're talking about grids, obviously we're talking about one way of playing Dungeons and Dragons, but what we're really saying is, like, the Behir is interesting as a monster because it can act as its own terrain. It can literally set itself up to be, it can physically split the party up by literally moving between them, which is not something that a lot of monsters can do because they simply don't have the size.
Yeah.
And that actually presents a lot of really unique challenges, especially if it's put in a unique environment that suits that well. Like, what I would suggest for an encounter with a Behir in terms of its lair would be kind of, cavern. I'd suggest basically like the end of the Mines of Moria in Lords of the Rings for kind of a point of reference. Like, lots of kind of tall spires interconnected by like thin sheets of rock, but like lots of holes for party members to fall in.
Yeah.
Because the Behir can climb along the sides, no problem. Like holes in the roof for the Behir to escape to or attack from that like are difficult for non-flying members or people without climb speeds to reach.
Yeah. And I'm thinking of him being on like the ceiling and him just dropping his head and just biting you and like coming back up again.
Yeah.
Just using his length as well as it's climbing, it would be cool.
I think even what might be really cool is if the Behir was fighting the party and climbed onto the ceiling and then dropped on the party.
Yeah. Yeah.
And literally you said everyone make a dexterity saving throw because the Behir is falling on you. And like, you know, obviously in the grid system we're saying like, well that's a 3x3 square, but that's a huge area. Like when you think about how much space that physically is, and if a Behir stretched itself out to cover as much space as possible, how easily it could fall on, especially like if we combine that with the idea, like, you know, there's like this thin stone bridge, like the bridge that Gandalf confronts the Balrog. Is that the bridge of Khazad-dûm? Yeah, it is cool. Like if you imagine like something like that thin, and like that's like the central area the party are fighting the Behir in, like, well, this is the Behir's lair. Maybe the party run because they don't want to fight the Behir on its favorite ground. But like if it does, you know, it literally climbs above them and falls on the entire bridge. Its body covers the bridge. Everyone on the bridge like has to immediately like make saving throws or like just fall. You know, they have to grab the ledge.
Yeah. I do feel like he has to sneak up on you because it does make a big deal about his stealth and its movement and its climbing. So it's a great idea to make him sneak up on your party, on your players. Like surprising them with this guy is a cool idea. So start with that.
Yeah. So let me just think. Yeah. So in terms of, okay, so we kind of talked about its lair. In terms of like legendary actions, I think we can kind of leave them to one side. If you want to do legendary actions, I would say just steal from another monster. Steal like from the dragon.
I was thinking because it's so heavily considered an electric creature, maybe like it can spark like a single square outside of its body. It can like consciously spark, like, because it's so stretched, if its breath can only come from its mouth, like have significantly less damage in it, but maybe just have like a zip, a little zap that it does to its like outside of its body, you know.
But would that be, are you considering that a legendary action or a layer action?
A legendary action, like a single legendary point action,
kind of like a little,
fair enough,
like a little reaction thing.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that's cool. I suppose that, what I would say is, like, if you are giving a Behir legendary actions, I would, not mechanically, this isn't a mechanical suggestion, I would lore-wise make the Behir a little bit special. Yeah. If that makes sense. Yeah. As in, you know, they don't have to be, like, they don't have to be, like, legendary or anything. Yeah. Like, but they just, they're not dumb creatures. But what I mean is, like, you know, it could be as simple as using, you know, Lud from the caverns of Sojkanth, you know. It could be as simple as giving them a name and a location, and then saying, like, okay, because of the location they're in, what unique factors have influenced them, and therefore, like, you know, why is this a legendary Behir? Yeah. And the question can be the answer can be as simple as, like, oh, it's got a tribe of kobolds worshipping it, you know, so it's just more powerful. Or it could be, like, very complicated, like it ate a really powerful sorcerer and now it has more power.
Yeah. That's another thing, which, because when you mentioned giving him a name, I feel like if you're going to play with this guy, you should give him a name, because if you throw to your players and say, oh, you're fighting a Behir, you're like, all right, cool, that's fine, he's cool, but like you're fighting Lud the Behir, or Lud the Hungry, or Lud the Terrible.
Ooh, that's good.
Then he's
I like those.
Those
are very good.
Whoa, this guy, what's it like? Who is this guy? Who is this? Like, and then
absolutely.
He's this figure in the world. You know, he's just like,
that's very cool.
Yeah, like giving if they're intelligent enough to have a name, then give him a name. Like, it'll be so much cooler for your players to like hear about this guy.
Absolutely.
So.
And then they can brag about it. They can say, well, we slayed Lud the Terrible. You know, like that's great. What I actually on that idea of like them kind of being figures, I think the Behir, and I've already mentioned this is something I really like, and so I apologize for repeating myself. The Behir would be a great example of a monster that would toy with the party. Okay. Like Smaug and Bilbo. Like, you can imagine the party creeping through these caverns and they hear this, like, draconic whisper, you know, and it asks, you know, what are you doing in my lair? And, like, it questions the party and it goads them, and maybe it even goes as far as like maybe the Behir says like, oh well, if you want treasure you can find it here, and maybe they go there and there is treasure, and the Behir is kind of like using them to slay the hobgoblins that have infested its lair or whatever,
Yeah.
and then eventually, like after they've wasted their resources fighting these useless hobgoblins, the Behir reveals itself.
And you can also make a lore point with this Behir just wants to hunt you for like the game and stuff, like almost like Predator, like
Ooh,
the
yeah,
Predator,
yeah.
really,
Yes.
like from Predator, I guess, but like, but just almost like making it kind of a game for him. So you go into his lair and he's made it out. We're like, oh, I want to hunt these powerful adventurers because it's just for myself, really, and I'm hungry as well. So you can add that a bit of lore in there. That'll be pretty cool. So
I think it would be a cool idea to give them a little bit of the Storm Giant backstory as well. Like this particular Behir was like serving a Storm Giant, and like maybe it betrayed it and like kicked it out, or like it escaped from its clutches and it had learnt so much from it that it felt like it had overcome it. Or maybe that's because I like deep history for my things, but
that's cool.
Yeah, like that's how it got its intelligence, but also its guile and its want to improve itself.
Yeah, and like being enslaved made it like angry and kind of hateful and things like that. Like, that's cool. Actually, that Storm Giants present another really cool opportunity. If you feel like you want your Behir to have unique powers, you could explain them as Storm Giant artifacts that the Behir has kept for generations. And then that's cool because the Behir, like, let's say, I don't know, it's like I'm trying to think of something now that like fits the Behir. Maybe it's like, maybe this is a winged Behir, and it turns out that it's actually got like artificial wings on like a harness that was given to it by a Storm Giant. But when you kill the Behir, now you have that.
Cool.
And one of your party members takes it, and like, because I don't know if it says so in 5th edition, but in other editions of D&D, it always explains how, because magic items are magic, they always shrink to fit the user. So like you could say like these items that were built for a Behir will shrink to the size of a party member if they want to use it. So then one of your party members gets these cool like artificial giant wings.
Yeah, or like whatever kind of stuff you can come up with. Like maybe he's like one of his claws is like clutching onto an amulet or something as he fights.
Yeah. Or the Behir is able to use like a stave or something. Like, it's smart enough to know command words and things like that. It could even have wands. And all that's great treasure for the party.
Yeah. Lots of potential loot from Behirs we're getting at now, it seems.
Yeah. Just real quick, I was looking at the 4E thing there, and it's just kind of going back to what Tim mentioned about sparks coming from it as a reaction. It has a lightning shock, which is just like kind of like a lightning attack, but it's like it's a burst out of him. It's a short burst, so you can use something like that if you want to do kind of like a lightning, like short ranged attack, but that's kind of changed the subject, and but it's just something I saw there.
Well, that's cool. Well, thanks for getting back to that.
I just wanted to mention it for
cool.
you. Yeah, I really like these guys. Guys.
Yeah, they're actually quite cool. But I think, like, if you find a Behir and you've been told that he's like, ooh, he's actually very evil and mean, you could maybe play up his like foe of dragons thing, because maybe you're facing dragons in the outside world, but you hear whispers of this great foe of the dragons, and you might be able to recruit him. And like,
you make a deal with them because it's like the enemy of my enemy.
Yeah,
that's cool.
That'll be pretty cool.
And maybe he'll betray you, maybe he won't. That's up to you, DMs.
Yeah.
It's also worth saying that like the Behir probably has a particular enmity for Dragonborn.
Oh.
Which is worth remembering, because that's a great way to, like, that's a cool way to like make someone's racial choices in a game more than, you know what I mean? Like, it's not just like a stat block. It's not just like part of their backstory. It's like, oh, now it's in the game. Now this Behir hates you for what you are, and you have to like deal with that.
Or if you don't want it to be so explicit, you just like keep mentioning that he's staring at your Dragonborn party member kind of thing.
Yeah. It can be like, it could be described any number of ways. Like, I mean, the cool thing about that is that obviously a Dragonborn has Draconic, so maybe it's the only point of contact for the party, but it also hates the Dragonborn the most and doesn't want to speak with it.
Yeah.
That could be cool. Do you boys want to hear about some alternate Behirs?
Ooh.
Let's
That's right.
Let's hear them.
I got some spicy bonus dessert. I don't know what to call this. I'm
Spice.
sorry. This
I
is-
don't want spicy dessert.
Spicy
man.
dessert.
I don't.
This is,
Unless
I
it's cinnamon,
really-
I'm not huge.
this is a bad analogy, and
Yeah.
I'm abandoning it. I'm
welcome,
abandoning ship.
welcome to our new section
Segment.
of the podcast.
Please don't say that.
What? Okay, sorry. Go for it, man. Go for it.
Spicy desserts.
Spicy desserts.
Stop, please. I have so much regret.
You've done this to yourself.
So obviously the Behir described here and in every previous edition of Dungeons and Dragons is a cavernous creature that likes to breathe lightning. But in Dragon Magazine 156, there was an article called "The Ecology of the Behir," which describes some more detail about how they operate in your world, which you could read if you'd like. For example, it says that the stomach acid of a Behir is strong enough to dissolve metal in case it eats metal encased prey, which means that you'll never find metal treasure inside it. You'll only find like jewels and things.
Yeah.
But also means that like if you harvest it, it could be practical as a result. But it also presents 2 alternate stat blocks for different Behir.
Oh.
Okay.
What flavor
so there are-
beer would you like?
Which do you want? Do you want number 1 or number 2, Tim?
I'll go for number 2, please, Daniel.
Number 2, Jungle Behir.
Jungle.
As the name implies, the jungle behir is found in tropical jungles and rainforests. So unlike normal behirs, rather than being blue, it's got sort of a deep emerald green.
Tasty.
It operates mostly the same way as a normal behir, but rather than having a breath of ice, it has lightning, Jesus. It has a breath of acid.
Ooh. Yeah. Good old acid. So it eats frogs or something.
Yeah, or big frogs.
And having him like jump around the trees and stuff will be very cool, and climbing up
Yeah.
like tall trees.
Yeah, that would be very cool. And he like lurking in swamps and things like that.
Yeah, yeah. You can honestly just do Predator, actually.
That's literally, Jungle Behir is just 100% like now we're playing Predator.
Yeah, you know, guys, I'm gonna watch Predator this week. I think.
You've referenced Predator, I think, in maybe at least one of their episodes.
I really like
It's-
the film. I really like.
It's a very good movie.
It's a very good film.
It's an excellently made action movie.
Yeah.
So there's a one more type of Behir. There's only 2 here, but they're pretty clear in their theming, so you could easily make up your own. But this is the one who I'm actually a little more excited about.
Okay.
Desert Behir.
Okay.
Ooh.
These creatures are found in deserts as well as volcanic plains. Their plate-like upper scales range in color from yellow to orange, while the belly scales are a fiery red.
Nice.
When attacking, the Desert Behir has all of the attributes of a normal Behir. Its breath weapon, however, is a jet of flame.
Okay.
I like it. Tasty. Simple.
Yeah, it's very straightforward as a monster. The reason I like it is because I feel like how I would build a Desert Behir is I would swap out their climb speed for a burrow speed.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
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 You know what I mean? Like, so I imagine how a Desert Behir works is it uses its, because it's very fast. It's faster than, as we said before, it's faster than the player. So it's running across the desert on all its legs.
Yeah.
And then, like, if it sees something in the distance, because again, it's trained in perception, it's a perceptive creature, it like hides underground until it hears them coming and then leaps out of the ground and, like, roasts a wagon in a gout of flame and attacks the rest of the caravan or whatever.
Maybe it should have tremor sense as well if it's going to be doing that.
Yeah, not a bad idea. Swap it, because why would you need dark vision in the desert? It's,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess why do you need as much dark vision would be a better way to put it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you could swap out its dark vision for a tremor sense. You could swap out its climb speed for a burrow speed.
Like these are all simple enough that you can honestly just put these guys into 5e. Just change the
absolutely.
color, change the breath weapon, and change a couple of senses. That's it, you know?
Well, that's the cool thing about a lot of AD&D monsters is even though they have a lot of rules as to how exactly they work that are kind of hard to parse, fundamentally they're all fairly simple creatures. So it's very easy to take some cool additions from AD&D and convert them into 5th edition. But yeah, I just thought they were really cool. I especially liked the Desert Behir. I thought it was a really interesting
Yeah.
predator to add to your desert ecology because there's not a lot there.
No.
Which of the monsters was it previously that we had spoken about them being like the sandworms of
The Ankeg.
Okay.
the Ankeg? Yeah. So maybe we could have them working in tandem with the old Ankegs,
Yeah.
the old sandy boys.
Like in my D&D setting that I'm making now, I have like a desert area just there on the map, and I need some stuff in there, like adding some Behirs there, or like a Behir, like a notorious Behir who just hangs around the desert and pops up every once in a while will be pretty cool, you know?
Yeah,
Notorious
absolutely.
Behir.
Yeah, notorious BEH.
The notorious Beh.
Anything else you got to look on? I was because I've already mentioned this the 4E Stormsteed Behir, where he has the Ride the Lightning, which is a great name for action. But he after he shoots a breath weapon, he can kind of like ride it as a minor action to like kind of fly over it. And also they have like a hover speed. Like a fly speed, but a hover speed.
I think its hover speed is supposed to be the representation of its lightning.
Yeah, but actually no. But all
sense.
the other guys have it as well.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Actually, wait. Never mind. I was just looking at him. But does anyone else? No. Yeah, you're right. So that's that. Yeah, that is that.
Cool.
So no, just him. Just the Storm Seed has the hover speed. So yes, Daniel, you're right. You probably is just a lightning. So there you go.
But that's what's cool about that is that suggests very clearly another way you could change a Behir. You know, if you wanted to present this legendary Behir with their own special actions.
Yeah.
A really cool way to do that would be saying like, oh, they've mastered their lightning to the extent that they can like fly using lightning.
Yeah.
You know, it's a completely unique technique. Like the dragons fly with magic and wings. Everyone else flies with just regular magic or wings or a bit of both. But this is like they are riding their own inherent elemental ability.
Yeah.
It's like the rocket boots from Avatar.
Yeah.
Totally.
Actually, yeah, this Storm Seed Behir has. Remember, you mentioned him about adding a tremor sense into them. He actually has a tremor sense.
There you go.
Not a dark vision. He has perception plus 18, whatever that means in 4E, and a tremor sense. So, yeah, there you go.
Guys, it actually turns out I can just see the future.
Yeah,
And
you
I
can.
just
Wow.
know when you're going to bring things up.
You're pretty smart, Tim.
I have 21 future perception or
Cool.
clairvoyance.
Anything else we got to mention? Because everything else in 4E is kind of standard. It's the same stuff we kind of seen already.
The only thing I would mention, and this is only because we kind of talked about it when we were talking about the basilisk hunting,
Yeah.
is in the ecology of a Behir, it says that you can train a Behir if it is caught within a year of hatching.
Right.
So Behir eggs and young Behir who are captured are very valuable.
Yeah.
Cool.
Such training takes about 2 months for a skilled animal trainer, after which the Behir can understand and speak common as well as a 5-year-old child.
Cool.
Except it says there is a 50% chance the Behir will abandon its current master for a new one if approached properly. Basically, it's kind of just still not very nice.
Yeah.
It's like it's kind of still fundamentally like an evil creature, but it can be tamed.
Neutrally.
Yeah.
So it says here that Behir eggs and young Behir sell for between 500 and 750 gold pieces, which is a nice little bit of pocket change for your adventurers.
Yeah. And as we mentioned in the Basilisk episode, it'll be kind of strange, but it'll be cool to see your big bad having a Behir as a pet. Actually, it could be possible, but it's written down there. You could give it a go if you want to, but
that would be like a whole other level to the basilisk, because the basilisk is a challenge level 3, a nice level 3.
Yeah.
But if you want that kind of theme to be going through it, that your big bads tend to have like animal companions or animal slaves or just like big attack dogs, essentially.
Yeah.
That is a super cool one to have.
Yeah.
Like for like a storm giant bag boss or something.
Yeah. Or just kind of powerful sorcerer big bad that you have, and once he sees the Behir behind him, your players are just like, whoa, this guy, let's not mess with this guy. Like,
yeah, not to be trifled with.
Yeah. But yeah, just you can give it a go, guys, if you want to. Like, it's possible. Like, sure, anything's possible in D&D. But
I'm not going to stop you.
Yeah, I won't stop you. I'm not your dad.
You were going to say maybe about the armor
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, I was actually going to mention, so obviously we talked about that with the Basilisk. Same is true for the Behir. If you subtract its dexterity modifier, its natural armor is 14, which suggests that its armor is providing a +4 bonus, which is quite good. It even describes in the ecology of the Behir, one of its descriptions is how you can harvest the hide of a Behir and have it turned into armor. It specifies how good the armor is, but it says basically a bunch of stuff that I don't understand because I don't play AD&D. But it says up to 3 suits of armor can be constructed from a single slain Behir, and some armorers will actually pay you for Behir hide in good condition, which is again kind of a cool touch.
And if we're going to take our Monster Hunter influence, again, you can have good armor from it, and you can almost make it give you like like immunities, if you want to go that far, or even just a resistance to lightning.
I think absolutely. Like if it was a bonus equivalent to, I don't know, like what's, I guess, chainmail, probably a good comparison. Like it's equivalent to chainmail, and it gives you resistance to lightning,
or even just scale, actually, because it scales.
Yeah.
I think scale makes sense, but I don't know if scale is better than its normal armor.
Yeah,
I think scale is 15 plus 2 max dex, which again is just semantics, but it's very much up to you. But anyway, it is worth mentioning. Yeah, you can do that. I think it would be cool to also potentially. And this is something a little bit different. It'd be cool if you could like harvest the lightning from a Behir.
Yeah. I was trying to think of like some way that you could find like a source stone or something in them, but would they have like something inside them that produces the lightning, or do they just absorb the lightning?
I think it could be as simple as if you collect a Behir's heart, you can use it for lightning or whatever.
I guess you can get creative with that. Just say what makes the lightning in a Behir. It's like saying what makes the breath weapon in a dragon. It's kind of just be creative.
Yeah.
You know.
Maybe the Behir, when lightning strikes the earth, they are what absorbs it. That would be cool. I like that idea.
That's
nice one, Tim.
Right?
Yeah, high five.
Oh yeah,
I like that as a world. I like that as a world thing. Like there are lots of Behirs, or like at the center of the earth there's a giant Behir. I'm getting off the rails here.
Yeah, you are.
Everything is Behirs.
It's all Behirs all the way down.
Welcome to Tim's Behir Hour.
So you start off with a small layer of small Behirs, and the Behirs get larger and larger as the closer you go to the core. But yeah, for that small idea, like maybe lightning strikes a mountain a bit more than it usually does, and like there is a Behir in there that is either growing or like has been there for centuries, and the people of the town are just like, oh hey, yeah, that mountain basically covers us from all storms. It's incredible.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah,
but then
you go up there and then you see a Behir, like, oh, all right, let's kill it, and then that lightning attack it.
Stab. Lightning attack.
That's the thing about D&D. You can just kind of do whatever you want, and you can have whatever bit of lore for like it's open for all you budding DMs out there. So
I was only going to mention in terms of it's harvesting the lightning. It says here, this is again from the same article as before, The Ecology of the Behir, Dragon Magazine 156. A large organ with an unusually high concentration of metal lies adjacent to the stomach. This organ is connected by a system of nerve structures to another smaller organ in the back of the mouth. Ooh. Again, the smaller organ has a high concentration of metals. I hypothesize that an electrical current is produced in the larger gland by some as yet unknown method, then stored in the smaller gland until discharged. So this is like from like an explorer, obviously.
Yeah,
but like
cool.
That could be kind of cool if you had the idea that like it has some like organ in it that it uses to generate metal and another one to discharge it, and you could even say like, you know, if you harvest both, you can turn them into like a makeshift, maybe lightning gun. Yeah. But if you just harvest, say, the larger organ, you could literally just turn it into an engine. Like,
ooh, cool.
That's kind of cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just like it's just a big battery for your airship or whatever.
Yeah.
That would definitely give people in the world like a motivation to go get them if you wanted to have like a hunter's guild kind of thing.
That would be really cool, actually, if they got like Behir organs to generate electricity, and then had like the ship like the one in the Matrix that kind of like channels electricity around it and flies using magnetic currents.
Cool.
And that again is kind of like the big Behir from 4th edition who rides its own lightning. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Rad.
It's like a stolen technique turned into technology.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do the Matrix as my
I'm doing full of Behirs.
Yeah, this could be Behirs and Lawrence Fishburne. Does anyone have any closing statements? Because we're kind of getting to that time. But
I think we are pretty well wrapped up.
Cool. So that's Behirs. They are long old dragon-like guys, but they don't like dragons. Kind of snake.
Yeah, don't call them dragons.
Yeah, don't call them dragons to their faces, but they're kind of like snake dragons. Shoot out lightning. They kind of constrict you and swallow. Mm-hmm. That's the Behirs, really. Yeah. I hope you enjoyed it. Someone else do this, please. Sorry.
Thank you as always for listening.
Yeah.
if you enjoyed this podcast, you can let us know in a comment.
Yep.
Or you can subscribe if you haven't already. We always appreciate subscribers. If you have any homebrews or any experience playing with the Behir, let us know about them. We're always interested in your stories.
Yeah, let us know on creatureclubpodcast.com, our website.
We also have a Gmail, creatureclubpodcast@gmail.com.
Yep.
Yes, and as always, the old iTunes. If you could leave us a review there, that would be super duper handy.
Yep.
Yeah, that'd be great. If you have friends who like D&D and you think we're pretty cool, we always like it. New people to listen and tell us what they think. So maybe send it on.
I just got a Facebook message from our friend of the show, Connor. This will probably date it for him. He just said, "Hey guys, happy Christmas," or to me, sorry. "Hey, happy Christmas, man. Love the Villain Squad concept." So thank you, Connor, for that. Thank you very much.
Sweet.
Friend of the podcast and slime extraordinaire, Connor.
And I guess if you guys liked that show, then please let us know. But we'll probably do more of that, maybe as another like either monthly or like every second month or something. Well, we have a couple other shows we want to do, but there we go. And if you want to be mentioned on the show, leave us a comment, I guess.
Yeah, it's actually a very, very good way to end up on the show.
Thank you all very much for listening.
Yep, I have been Mikey.
I've been Tim.
And I've been Dan.
And stay cool and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.